to Oliver while we were out in Riyadh at this event that could you possibly put, I mean, I've got the list of top 10 heavyweights in the world here in front of me at the moment. You could get away, Adam, I think, with literally putting him in with anyone in the top 15 and letting him see what he could do. I know he's going to be outboxed by Alexander Usyk in a smart way, but because he's the number one in the division.
Yeah, of course.
But there's an argument.
Would you put him in with Hrgovic?
Yes, definitely.
That should be his next fight.
I mean, I know, and that is still stretching the bounds in some ways.
Yeah, but the kid's exceeding expectation. He goes in there and he demolishes Filip Hrgovic's last opponent in the manner that he did. Let's see what he does with Filip Hrgovic. Put him in there.
Fabio Wardley.
If I'm Fabio Wardley, I don't do that fight.
If you're Fabio Wardley, you're saying you don't do that fight.
Yeah, because
Martin Piccoli.
If I'm Moses Itauma, yeah, I have a go at it.
Those are the words of Talk Sports, Gareth Aldavis, of course, and company. All right, and they are suggesting that Moses Itauma should fight Filip Hrgovic. Fabio Wardley, Martin McCauley. And let me counterpunch. I think eventually he's going to have to fight those guys anyway if he has any type of chance to beat that record. So the whole thing is they're trying to fast pace this guy to beat a record of Mike Tyson, which won't happen because Mike was 20 years and 4 months. He just turned 20, so he has 3 months to go. He's not going to get a world title in that amount of time. So he's not going to beat Mike Tyson's record. Floyd Patterson's maybe, definitely. And I think that would make some pressure be released from Moses Itauma because I think they were trying to do that. Frank Warren, I think Frank Warren was, trying to push that idea of Moses to beat Mike Tyson's record, which it won't happen. So I think, hey, case closed. Let's move on. Moving on, Filip Hrgovic. Filip Hrgovic was the other guy to beat Dempsey McKean, okay? The first guy, which it took him 12 rounds. 12 rounds to beat an awkward jackrabbit like Dempsey McKean, but it just showed you the incapability of Filip Hrgovic, what he couldn't do, what he was unable to do for a very long time. And to be honest, he really didn't even knock him out. He just stopped it based on some punches that he finally landed clean, okay? So what could Moses do with Filip Hrgovic? Is that too soon? I would say so. I say this, in time, sure, Filip Hrgovic could be that dude. Filip Hrgovic should be the guy that he ends up fighting before the title belt or the title opportunity. You know what I mean? He's that step before the big step, not the next step. Okay, see, here's the thing. What people need to understand when you're sculpturing a fighter, when you're grooming a fighter, okay, you're growing a fighter. You need to understand what to water this fighter with, how to carry about this fighter. You don't do that by just throwing him in there with the next dangerous guy, because remember, Filip Hrgovic, sure, we've seen how one-dimensional he was against Daniel Dubois. We've seen that shit, okay? But at the same time, though, we also seen Filip Hrgovic attack at will. You know what I mean? And I think Moses Itauma is better defensively than Daniel Dubois. However, though, if you look at the tendencies, okay, habits that Moses showed when even knocking out Dempsey McKean, shows you how dangerous it is of a fight to fight Filip Hrgovic. Why? Because the same thing that Moses did in the same gym with Anthony Joshua, Ben Davison allowed to happen. So if he goes in there with that hands down shit, he could get caught and he could get clipped. And then and that one last thing you want to see is a young guy like that has those habits gets caught with his hands down like AJ did against Dubois because Ben Davison never corrected them, something that Derek James would have done, okay? Then to get in that fight And to get caught like that, I don't think that that would be a smart idea. I think, if anything, they should tighten up on the defense of Moses. And I think they should start with lighter fighters and lighter-handed fighters so he can put those hands up. I know he's fast, and I know faster fighters can get away with dropping their hands and stuff like that, but it's never recommended, especially when you're grooming a fighter. You have to teach that fighter to keep his damn hands up. Why? Because he wants to be ready for an incoming counterpunch. Okay, because you don't want to get caught with something that will take you out of the game, that could alter your career, because that's all it takes is one shot. This is the heavyweight division. Fabio Wardley showed you that against Frazier Clark. This man, these guys, Frazier Clark, Fabio Wardley, went toe-to-toe, face-to-face, blood for blood, 12 rounds to a draw. Next fight, very next fight, boom, over with, one shot, broke his jaw. Wired shut. Right? That just shows you the seriousness of boxing. It's brutal. It's real. It's uncut. It's unscripted. Okay, so when they're talking about, oh, well, Moses, throw him in there with that. Listen, people, I know that Moses Itauma was probably the best thing on the card. He had the best knockout. He was a showcase knockout. It looked great, but understand, it's still a stepping stone. Okay, so to take on Filip Hrgovic, there's a difference, or a way bigger difference, between Dempsey McKean and Filip Hrgovic. You know, now you could argue that, well, that was the guy that beat him, so why don't you put him in there because they both beat Dempsey McKean? I get that, but understand this kid is 20 years old. You know what I mean? A fresh 20 years old at that. Okay, he ain't been 20 a month yet. And you guys want to throw him in there with Filip Hrgovic, a guy that, by the way, is quiet, his training, and he's studying, and he's working on something. Somebody like that could upset the apple cart. Okay, so be careful what you ask for or what you demand from these younger fighters. Okay, because you just may get it, and what you may see as a result may not be pretty. But you guys tell me what you think of Talk Sports Boxing suggesting that Filip Hrgovic should fight Moses next, or should I say Moses should fight Filip Hrgovic next. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been counterpunched.